Hey everybody, it's Halley O'Brien, and welcome to the Snow Report Fireside Chat series, Sans Fire. Safety reasons. Today we are chatting with Vasu Sojitra, professional adaptive athlete and all-around badass, just ninja sticking his way through the woods to bring intersectionality to the outdoors. He's got a smile that can light up a room, a community-minded heart, and an awesome segment in this year's Warren Miller film, Winter Starts Now. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I know you will too, so let's jump into it.
I use outriggers that I call ninja sticks. The biggest challenge is definitely going to be gravity on the up.
Vasu, welcome to the Snow Report. I am so happy to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited to share about all the things that I'm a part of.
And there's no shortage of it, for sure. I mean, your resume is nothing short of impressive. But for the viewers that might be meeting you for the first time here or through Warren Miller this year, tell us a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Vasu Sojitra. I'm over in Bozeman, Montana, and primarily ski at Bridger Bowl and a lot at Big Sky as well. Signed on to be one of their athletes, so that's pretty exciting for this year. But yeah, I started skiing when I was about 10 years old. Prior to that, I had lost my leg through a blood infection when I was 9 months old. So pretty much grew up with one leg. And throughout that, I was using a prosthetic and crutches and other medical equipment. Lived in India for a little bit, was born in the States. So moved back to India, came back to the States, started skateboarding and skiing and all these extreme sports that little kids are really into. And then, kind of, just deeply was invested in skiing after going a bunch of times with my brother and few other mutual friends in the neighborhood, and I kind of just got attracted, and it was very magnetic for me. So it's grown into something I never expected when I was a kid. So pretty grateful for where I'm at today.
Totally, because you started at, I think I read you started at a mountain at a ski area in Connecticut, right?
Correct. Yeah. So I started at Ski Sundown, small little hill in New Hartford. Probably like an hour or so away from where I grew up.
Very nice. And now Warren Miller.
Yeah, kind of a wild progression for sure. So yeah, definitely wasn't expecting that. I feel like Warren Miller is definitely one of the pinnacle of most people's, athletic expressions, I guess, to say the least.
This was your first film with them, with Warren Miller.
Correct. Yes. So yeah, we got a nice little push to attempt skiing Denali this year, and it was just you never know what's going to happen when it's high altitude skiing, so definitely quite the experience, and we just wanted to make sure it was done as well as we could make it. You never know what's going to actually happen when we're up there. So
Denali, that's the highest mountain in North America. You're out there for 2 to 3 weeks at least. Like, break it down for us. In a typical day, how much ground did you have to cover, and did you?
Well, technically, yeah. So we were out there on the glacier for about 17 days. 15 of those days were against gravity, so we're going uphill, and then 2 of those days were from the summit all the way back to the airstrip.
Would you consider those the fun days?
Those were probably the longest days of my life, is what it felt like. But yeah, definitely quite the experience for sure. I would say high altitude snow is much different than many of the ski spines we see in other ski flicks. So very, very variable. Definitely tests all parts of your ski ability. I'm very grateful to be able to grow up skiing on the East Coast, let's just say, knowing how to ski ice and crud and wind buff and sun crust, all these things that we ran into up there. So
sure. Yeah, you guys did experience some rough weather from what I saw in the segment. That looked nuts.
Yeah, it took us about 17 days to do the whole thing. Summit day was definitely a blizzard, like -15, -20 with wind chill as well. So couldn't really take anything off or you'd immediately get frostbite. So it was definitely a quick transition up at the summit to get back down, because it was definitely, the temperatures are dropping very fast. But yeah, that was quite the emotional experience. All of us definitely cried at the summit, which is definitely very, very powerful. And Uh,
I was gonna ask you, like, when you did summit, you push that button like thing. It's like Ninja Warrior style. I mean, this is
yeah.
no offense to the Ninja Warriors out there, but Denali, I could imagine just tears flowing, very satisfying, to put it
Yeah.
delicately.
Yeah, the little USGS survey marker or whatever it is for summits. Um, yeah, that thing was definitely quite the moment. And I think Pete was a little farther behind because we were on a rope team. So, we had to kind of stagger. But I waited for Pete, so we both summited together and were able to, you know, I guess claim the first folks with disabilities to be able to do such. So, more so the skiing part. But yeah, it was definitely a collective effort on the whole team to be able to do what we just did. I would never take that away from any of them. So it was definitely a very monumental experience, let's just say.
Sure. I mean, watching it from the comfort of a theater, I was blown away. I mean, just because at some point it almost looked like you guys wouldn't have enough time to summon it because of the weather. Was that ever a factor?
Oh, correct. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, weather systems and all that kind of stuff is so complicated, especially up there. So there was a nice little high pressure system while we were hanging out at 14,000 feet, which is kind of like base camp for where we hung out for pretty much 9 days straight, just sitting on our butts and eating food and just staying warm. And then, yeah, there's a low pressure system that moved in after a few days while we were trying to acclimatize that high. So that low pressure system brought in a lot of different cloud coverage, a lot of different precipitation and snow and wind and all these other things that come with low pressure systems. So we were definitely worried, and we definitely had a lot of conversations about what we wanted to do, and we very much threaded the needle when it came down to going for it. So because afterwards there was another day that was fairly clear, but then afterwards it was just like people were socked in for like 10 days straight. So it was very much a tight window.
Sure. And then
To
you're playing the waiting game, and you might be, going through the resources you have allotted for however long you plan to be up there. I mean, you can only plan so much to be out there so long, right?
Right. So we had food for 23 days, but the the nice thing about hanging out at 14 camp is everyone that's coming down from 14 camp is just trying to get rid of as much food as possible. So we had a lot of leftover stuff that we also gave away to people. So that was super nice
That's
to have
cool.
that like collective like sharing happening. We were always trying to eat real food instead of like dehydrated meals and such. But it's up that high, anything goes. So just eat as much calories as possible.
Right. I mean, I think someone actually brought up a grill and started tailgating at one point, right? You guys were having hot dogs.
Yeah. Yeah, this is kind of wild. One of the teams that was up there brought up a grill and like I want to say maybe 40 pounds of hot dogs, where
What?
like weight really is a big factor when you're moving uphill. So it's kind of a wild
You have
thing that,
to really like hot dogs. That's a
yeah, exactly.
commitment.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That was super fun and quite the experience. Never would have thought having a hot dog party at 14,000 feet. But it happened, and it was hilarious and fun, and yeah,
Are you
definitely
more
gonna
of a
think about
ketchup
it.
guy, a mustard guy, or just something else
Oh, I
entirely?
just like I just like everything on it, is what I realized. Pile it on.
Yeah, there you go. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah. So you were saying that the weight maximum that you're basically having to carry whatever, like you have to bring up whatever you can. You can't, no one's going to fly in anything for you. So you have to pack and carry whatever you need. I think it was 110 pounds max.
Yeah, so on average, most people carry 110 pounds. I was carrying around 110 pounds with my sled and backpack. And then, but on average for a team of six is what we had. It's usually around 600 pounds
Mhm.
total between the six. Between the team of six for us, it was 1,000 pounds. So, with the production gear, with the dome tent, with the solar panels and batteries, and all these things that come with production, the weight just started adding up. So the team was definitely carrying more than average, above average, and just maybe like 150 to 200 pounds each, which is wild.
Wow.
So yeah, it was it doesn't happen too often. And in the film, it definitely Ted definitely shared that, many people don't film on Denali because you have to carry all of this stuff with you. So, and trying to film in, that kind of weather and terrain is just so difficult.
Battery life in cold weather, and any, skier, snowboarder, filmers at home can attest, they don't last very long in the outdoors. So can't even imagine.
Yeah, on summit day, most of our batteries were just dying. We're like, oh my God, we need at least one camera to work.
Who's got an iPhone?
No, exactly. So yeah, that was kind of stressful in the moment, just trying to get the shot up at the summit, trying not to get frostbitten and all that kind of stuff. So
in your pack, was there anything that you didn't use and you were like, probably could have saved the weight?
Actually, I think I used most of my stuff. The only glamorous thing I brought with me was my Skull Candy headphones, like over the ear, like puffy headphones that I was using. Exactly. They were really nice to have, especially on the uphills, when you're just kind of struggling and taking rest steps and really moving slow because of altitude. So it was nice to just zone out for a little bit, listening to some music. And
playlist, any ideas?
Yeah, I mostly listen to hip hop and like French electronic music at the moment. So yeah, a little combination of both.
Yeah, you should just make a Spotify playlist for any other folks that want to summit Denali,
Yeah.
on a whim.
Which I do have, actually. So.
Right. Oh, that's perfect. So when you're not ninja sticking through the woods, what other ways do you enjoy the outdoors? I saw you're a pretty prolific skater.
Yeah, so I started skating the same time I started skiing when I was 10. It's more of a hobby than a passion compared to skiing, but it's still super fun and definitely blows people's minds, I've realized. Every time I post a skate video, it tends to break the internet, which is really funny. And it gets just shared all over the place. But I will say, skateboarding is one of the most frustrating sports I've ever taken on. So if you've ever tried it, I've
tried it. Hard. It's not a pretty picture. I'm going to stick to snowboarding.
Exactly. Yeah. But I do enjoy skateboarding. And then also part of the US amputee soccer team as well. So that's been exciting to be a part of for the past couple of years. Been playing soccer since I learned how to walk. So that's always been my first love, I guess, to say. And then I do a ton of trail running in the summers. So, from 2 miles to 30 miles. So
wow, that's awesome.
Long days in the mountains that definitely kick my ass, but also help me, I guess, stay in shape and get ready for the ski season. Yeah, it's nice little cross training, especially for how many damn dips I do when I'm touring and backcountry skiing. So
gym junkies out there probably know, but it's when I place my outriggers in front of me and then put all my weight on them and then lift myself up the hill while gliding my ski under me.
Yeah, you mentioned that in the movie, how many dips. Were you ever able to even ballpark calculate how many you might have done in that?
Yeah, I think it was over 100,000 that trip. So, I mean, each day was around 10,000 because we did about 3,000 to 4,000 feet a day, and or depending, and especially lengthwise as well. Some of those days were a lot steeper, more vertical. But yeah, around 10 to 15,000 feet a day, and then just span over 17 days. It was kind of, yeah. I did keep track daily, which was really funny.
What was the rest and recovery like after a trip like that?
Oh man, I think I was eating every 2 hours. My metabolism was just skyrocketing. Eating every 2 hours and going to the bathroom every other hour. So it was wild. A lot of sleep. It's such a massive, dopamine hit. So there was definitely lulls when it came down to it of just like, man, not up there anymore, not going through this like wild survival experience. So going back to reality is like kind of dulling, to say the least.
You're all boring, all of you.
Everyone's boring, yeah. But yeah, I was definitely learning how to slow back down and not like counting calories and trying to boil water for an hour and a half or whatever. So yeah, definitely very grateful to come back to reality with all of my 15 toes and fingers.
Nice. That's awesome. So as the winter season gets underway, what are you most excited about this year and what's next?
Um, I really enjoyed building relationships or continuing relationships with mostly a lot of the friends and folks in the ski industry that are breaking down some of these status quo narratives, which is nice. So, connecting with folks like Brooklyn Bell and Sophia Jaramillo and Emily Zenobia and all these more women of color and folks of color and other adaptive athletes out there. So, yeah, I just try to build and connect with them and build content and video projects and stuff like that. Yeah, all my work is, I guess, tends to be fairly intentional when it comes to representation. So whether it's behind the lens or in front of the lens, so that's my biggest thing that I always look forward to. And I have a handful of projects lined up and connecting with a lot of adaptive sports industry or organizations around the country around many of these films who are really psyched to see disability represented in a more mainstream way. So very excited to connect with them and share with them, and yeah, just keep pushing that needle forward a little bit more.
Love it. Love it.
Mhm.
Tell me a little bit about the Outdoor Future Initiative and the Inclusive Outdoors Project.
Yeah, so the Outdoor Future Initiative is a policy that we're trying to pass that helps redistribute funds to rural, urban, and tribal spaces, primarily communities of color, and in whatever way works for them. So, because I personally think it's a human right to be able to connect with our outdoor spaces. So that's what we're behind on that one. And then Inclusive Outdoors Project is primarily working with historically excluded communities. So the disability community, the queer community, and the community of color, and connecting them and us with more so mountain sports. So ice climbing, rock climbing, mountaineering, backcountry skiing are kind of our focus. And we're dabbling into trail running as well. So a lot of that.
If people want to find you, keep up with all of your adventures and help get involved, where should they go?
So you can follow me on Instagram. That's kind of usually where I'm the most vocal. My name, Vasu Sojitra. And then for the Outdoor Future Initiative, it's just Outdoor Future. And then Inclusive Outdoors Project is just that as well. So at Inclusive Outdoors Project. So all these different initiatives, you can follow along and help support, elevate. I feel like we live in a world where we need to keep focusing on elevating historically excluded communities. So things like last summer don't happen again, but who knows? We're a little far from that, I think, but every little thing counts and matters. So always looking for support and building bigger and bigger communities around some of these more caring spaces as much as possible.
Love it.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the time. This was such a pleasure. And I'm so glad to have gotten to meet you and to ask the questions that were burning in my mind as I was watching the segment. You're awesome. And I hope you kill it this season. I hope you have a great winter.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, we deeply appreciate it.
All right. Well, there you have it. If you enjoyed this fireside chat with Vasu, definitely hit that like button. Consider subscribing for more. And in the comments below, let us know what you thought. We'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Cheers.